First Contact Protocol. The Corvani Empire had ruled the Outer Rim for 3,000 years. Their sensor net stretched across 12 star systems, monitoring every particle of dust that drifted through their territory. Nothing moved through Corvani space without their knowledge. That certainty shattered on a quiet morning when Senior Monitor Kelzar noticed something impossible on his screens. Deep in the command center of Border Station 9, Kelzar rubbed his 4 eyes and checked the readings again. The station floated in the void between stars, a massive ring of metal and crystal that housed 10,000 souls. His tentacles danced across the holographic controls, pulling up different sensor feeds. The anomaly remained. Space itself seemed to be bending in Sector 472, creating ripples that shouldn't exist according to any known physics. Admiral Thyra received the alert in her private quarters aboard the flagship Eternal Vigil. She was old by Corvani standards, her blue-gray skin marked with the ceremonial scars of 100 battles. Her 6 legs moved with practiced grace as she entered the bridge, her crew immediately standing at attention. The main view screen displayed the sensor data and she felt her heart skip a beat. 3 hearts, actually, as all Corvani possessed triple cardiovascular systems. The readings showed something massive approaching through dimensions that shouldn't be accessible to any ship. The energy signature was unlike anything in their databases. Thyra had fought pirates, conquered rebellious worlds, and negotiated with species from across the galaxy. But this was different. This was unknown. Commander Velk, her second in command, approached with a data pad. His younger eyes held barely concealed excitement. Admiral, the object is definitely a vessel. Mass readings suggest it's larger than our heaviest battlecruiser, but the energy patterns don't match any known propulsion system. Thyra studied the data, her military mind already running through scenarios. If this was a new player in the galactic game, the Corvani Empire needed to show strength immediately. The vessel emerged from subspace like a whale breaching an ocean of stars. The UES Perseverance materialized in normal space with a flash of blue-white light that temporarily blinded every sensor within 1,000 kilometers. The ship was enormous, 2 kilometers long and built with angles that seemed to mock traditional shipbuilding. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with strips of glowing blue energy running along its surface like veins. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, her hands clasped behind her back. She was 45 years old with steel gray hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that had seen too much but still held hope. Around her, 30 crew members worked at stations that hummed with quiet efficiency. The bridge was surprisingly small for such a massive vessel. Most of the ship's operations controlled by the advanced AI systems that humanity had developed in the past decade. Navigation, report our position, Maria commanded. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had earned every stripe on her uniform through sweat and sacrifice. Lieutenant Kim Chen looked up from his console, his fingers still dancing across haptic displays. Captain, we're exactly where we planned to be. The quantum fold worked perfectly. We've crossed 800 light-years in 12 seconds. Maria allowed herself a small smile. The quantum fold drive was humanity's greatest achievement, a technology that bent space-time itself to create shortcuts through the universe. They had discovered the principles in ancient ruins on Mars, messages left by a civilization that had vanished millions of years ago. It had taken humanity 50 years to decode the mathematics and another 20 to build a working prototype. Communications, any local traffic? Maria asked. Lieutenant Sarah Walsh, barely 25 with bright red hair, shook her head. Nothing on standard frequencies, Captain, but I'm picking up some kind of scanning beam. Very sophisticated. Someone knows we're here. Maria nodded. This was expected. Intelligence reports suggested this region belonged to the Corvani Empire, a major galactic power that controlled vast territories. Humanity needed resources and allies if they were going to survive in the larger galaxy. This first contact mission would determine whether Earth found friends or enemies among the stars. Back on the Eternal Vigil, Admiral Thyra watched the human vessel with growing concern. The ship wasn't responding to any communication attempts. It just hung there in space, massive and silent, like a predator waiting to strike. Its hull seemed to absorb their sensor beams, revealing nothing about its interior or capabilities. Order the fleet to combat positions, Thyra commanded, but do not fire unless fired upon. We need to know what we're dealing with. 12 Corvani warships moved into formation, surrounding the human vessel at what they considered a safe distance. Each ship bristled with plasma cannons and missile tubes. The combined firepower could reduce a small moon to rubble, but somehow, facing this unknown vessel, it didn't feel like enough. Dr. James Park, the Perseverance's chief science officer, studied his readings with fascination. "Captain, the alien ships are using some kind of quantum entanglement for their communications. It's instantaneous across any distance, remarkable." Maria turned to him. "Can we tap into it?" "Not yet, but give me an hour. Their encryption is complex but not impossible." Maria considered this. They needed to establish communication before misunderstandings led to violence. The Corvani Empire had protocols for first contact situations. Admiral Thera had memorized them all during her academy training centuries ago. But those protocols assumed the other species would use recognizable technology and communication methods. This human ship defied every expectation. Its very presence seemed to warp space around it, creating micro-distortions that made their targeting computers struggle. Fleet Admiral Xenos appeared on Thera's communication screen. He was calling from the Empire's capital world, his ancient face showing deep concern. "Admiral Thera, the Council is watching your situation with great interest. This could be the greatest threat we've faced in generations, or the greatest opportunity. Proceed with extreme caution." The transmission ended, leaving Thera with the weight of the Empire's fate on her shoulders. Maria made a decision. Sarah broadcast a mathematical sequence, prime numbers, then the Fibonacci sequence, universal concepts that any spacefaring civilization should recognize. Let them know we're intelligent and trying to communicate. Sarah's fingers flew across her console, and soon the Perseverance was transmitting on every frequency they could access. The response was immediate. The Corvani ships pulled back slightly, their weapons still trained on the human vessel but no longer in aggressive attack positions. On the Eternal Vigil, Communications Officer Heck nearly fell out of his chair. "Admiral, they're sending mathematical patterns. This is a first contact protocol. They're trying to establish communication baselines." For the next hour, the two civilizations exchanged increasingly complex mathematical and scientific concepts. The universal language of mathematics bridged the gap between species that had evolved on different worlds under different stars. Gradually, patterns emerged. Computer systems on both sides began building translation matrices, finding commonalities in how each species described the universe. But tension still filled the void between the ships. Neither side fully trusted the other. The Corvani saw a vessel of impossible size using technology that shouldn't exist. The humans saw themselves surrounded by an alien fleet that could attack at any moment. Fear and curiosity danced together in the darkness of space. Chief Engineer Roberto Gonzalez monitored the Perseverance's power systems. The quantum fold drive required enormous amounts of energy, drawn from zero-point fluctuations in spacetime itself. The technology was still experimental, still dangerous. If something went wrong, the explosion would be visible from neighboring star systems. "Captain, we're showing some instability in the quantum matrix. Nothing critical yet, but we should consider powering down to maintenance levels." Maria weighed the options. Powering down would leave them vulnerable, but keeping the drive active might be seen as aggressive. Before she could decide, alarms blazed across the bridge. "Multiple ships approaching," Sarah reported. 40 vessels coming in fast from 3 directions. The Corvani reinforcements had arrived. The human Dreadnought was now surrounded by over 50 alien warships. Admiral Thera felt the situation spiraling toward disaster. The humans hadn't shown any hostile intent, but their mere presence was causing panic throughout the Empire. Reports were flooding in from dozens of worlds. Citizens were demanding action. Politicians were calling for preemptive strikes. Fear was spreading faster than facts. She needed to take control before someone made a fatal mistake. On Earth, billions of people waited for news. The Perseverance's mission had been humanity's greatest gamble. After discovering they weren't alone in the universe, Earth's united government had poured every resource into building ships that could compete with galactic civilizations. The quantum fold drive was their ace in the hole, technology that even advanced species apparently hadn't developed. But technology alone wouldn't ensure survival. They needed to prove humanity deserved a place among the stars. When Titans collide, the War Council of the Corvani Empire convened an emergency session. 12 of the most powerful beings in known space sat around a table that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Supreme Commander Korthak slammed his primary tentacle on the table, sending ripples through the smart glass surface. We should destroy them now while we have the advantage. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against our combined fleet. Elder scientist Myril disagreed, her voice calm despite the tension. We know nothing about their capabilities. That ship appeared from nowhere using technology we don't understand. What if they have more vessels waiting in whatever dimension they emerged from? What if destroying this ship brings 1,000 more? The council erupted in debate, fear and pride warring in every word. Meanwhile, the Perseverance detected something unexpected. Dr. Park's sensors had been continuously scanning the region when they picked up a distress signal. It was weak, almost lost in the background radiation, but definitely artificial. Captain, I'm reading life signs from inside the Crimson Nebula. Looks like a damaged vessel Corvani design. They're losing life support. Maria studied the data. The Crimson Nebula was a roiling mass of charged particles and gravitational anomalies 6 light-years away. Any ship caught in its storms would be torn apart within hours. How many life signs? Park checked his readings. Around 300. Civilian transport by the looks of it. They have maybe 4 hours before complete systems failure. This was an opportunity. Maria saw it immediately. They could show the Corvani that humans weren't conquerors or destroyers. They were potential allies, capable of compassion even toward strangers. But the rescue would be dangerous. The nebula's storms would test even the Perseverance's advanced shields, and they would have to move past the Corvani fleet, potentially triggering a firefight. XO Thompson, prepare rescue operations, Maria ordered. Her executive officer, Commander David Thompson, was a tall man with kind eyes who had served with her for 15 years. He understood her thinking immediately. Aye, Captain. I'll have medical and engineering teams standing by. Sarah, can you get a message to the Corvani fleet? Tell them we've detected their damaged ship and intend to render assistance. Sarah worked her console, using the translation matrix they had developed. The message went out on multiple frequencies, repeating in what they hoped was understandable Corvani. Admiral Thyra received the transmission with surprise. The humans claimed they could detect the transport ship Gentle Journey, which had sent a distress call 2 days ago. The Empire's own rescue ships had been unable to navigate the nebula's storms. It was considered a lost cause, 300 souls condemned to die in the cosmic tempest. But these humans claimed they could reach them. Commander Velk was suspicious. It could be a trick, Admiral, a way to move their ship past our lines. Thyra considered this, but something in her heart told her the humans were sincere. The translation was rough, but there was urgency in their message. Real concern for lives they had no reason to care about. Let them try, she decided. But have all weapons locked on their position. If this is deception, we end them. The Perseverance's quantum fold drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing. The massive ship vanished from the center of the Corvani formation and reappeared at the edge of the Crimson Nebula. The journey that would have taken conventional ships weeks had been crossed in seconds. But now came the hard part. The nebula was a maelstrom of forces that could crush atoms. Roberto Gonzalez diverted power to the shields, creating multiple layers of protection around the ship. The new shield technology, based on manipulating the same quantum fields that powered their drive, should theoretically protect them. But theory and practice were different things. The Perseverance pushed into the storm, and immediately alarms screamed across every deck. The ship shuddered as waves of energy crashed against its shields. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped to 0. They were flying blind, relying entirely on gravitational sensors to navigate. Maria gripped her command chair as the ship bucked like a living thing. Hold her steady, Chin. Find us a path through this mess. The young navigator's face was pale but determined as he worked his controls, using predictive algorithms to plot a course through the chaos. On the Gentle Journey, Captain Zelix had given up hope. The civilian transport had been carrying families to a new colony world when a gravitational wave had pulled them into the nebula. Their shields had failed within minutes. Now they huddled in the few compartments that still had atmosphere, waiting for the end. His daughter, barely past her first molting, clung to his side. He whispered ancient prayers, hoping their spirits would find peace in the void. Then the impossible happened. A massive shape emerged from the storm, shields glowing blue-white as they deflected energies that should have been insurmountable. The human ship moved through the tempest like it was merely a strong wind. Zelix watched in awe as the vessel matched their tumbling rotation, extending what looked like hard light projections to stabilize their spin. Docking tubes extended from the Perseverance, sealing against the Gentle Journey's hull. Human rescue teams poured through wearing armor that looked more like spacesuits than military gear. They carried medical supplies and portable life support units. The leader, a woman with dark skin and gentle hands, spoke through a translation device. "We're here to help. Everyone's going to be okay." The evacuation took 2 hours. Human medics treated the injured while engineers patched critical systems. They worked with efficiency but also compassion, especially careful with the young ones. Many Corvani had never seen a human before. They were smaller than expected, with only 2 arms and 2 legs, but their determination was remarkable. One human carried 3 Corvani children at once, despite each child being nearly his size. Admiral Thyra watched the sensor feeds in disbelief. The human ship was not only surviving the nebula, but had successfully docked with the transport. Life signs were being transferred from the damaged vessel to the larger ship. They were actually doing it. They were saving those people. Around her, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence. This changed everything. Back in the nebula, the Perseverance had taken all survivors aboard. The gentle journey was too damaged to save, but its passengers and crew were safe. Maria ordered the return journey, and once again the quantum fold drive engaged. They emerged from the nebula with their shields sparked and scorched but intact. The rescued Corvani were already being treated in the medical bay, many of them in awe at the technology they saw. Captain Zelix was brought to the bridge, his daughter still clinging to his side. He found himself face to face with Captain Rodriguez. Through the translator, he spoke. "You risked your ship for strangers. Why?" Maria smiled, the expression translating across species barriers. "Because it was the right thing to do. We're new to the galaxy, Captain. We want to show that humans can be trusted, that we help those in need." The rescue changed the entire dynamic. Admiral Thyra requested permission to board the Perseverance to formally thank the human crew. It was granted immediately. She brought a small honor guard, expecting to find a warship bristling with weapons. Instead, she found laboratories, medical facilities, and botanical gardens. The Perseverance was an exploration vessel, not a dreadnought. It was large because it was designed for long-term deep space missions, not because it was packed with weapons. The meeting between Admiral Thyra and Captain Rodriguez took place in the Perseverance's observation deck. Earth hung on the view screen, transmitted from quantum-entangled particles that provided real-time communication across any distance. It was a blue-green jewel, smaller than the Corvani homeworld but beautiful in its fragility. Maria offered Thyra a seat designed to accommodate her unique physiology. They had fabricated it in the past hour, another example of human adaptability. "Your technology is remarkable," Thyra said through the translator. "The quantum fold drive, the shields that survived the nebula, the medical facilities that saved our people. How did your species advance so quickly? Our records show you only achieved spaceflight 200 years ago." Maria poured what humans called coffee, and what the translator called heated plant essence. She chose her words carefully. "We found teachers," Maria explained. "Ancient ruins on our moon and Mars. Messages left by those who came before. We don't know who they were, but they left instructions, mathematics concepts we could barely understand. It took us generations to decode even a fraction of it. We're still learning." She paused, looking at the alien admiral. "We know we're young compared to the Corvani Empire. We know we have much to learn, but we also have much to offer." Thyra's 3 hearts beat with different rhythms, a sign of deep thought among her people. "The Empire fears you because we don't understand you. Your ship appeared from nowhere, using technology that seems impossible. Fear leads to violence. But what I've seen today shows me another path. Your compassion for our people, risking your lives for strangers, this speaks louder than any weapon." The conversation continued for hours. They discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchange, the sharing of knowledge. Maria learned that the Corvani controlled vast resources but had become stagnant in their development, too comfortable in their power. Thyra learned that humans were desperate to prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community, bringing fresh perspectives and innovation. Dr. Park and elder scientist Myril, who had come aboard with Thyra, were deep in discussion about the quantum fold drive. The Corvani had theories about folded space-time, but had never managed to make it work. Humans had succeeded through a combination of alien knowledge and their own unique approach to problem-solving. It was a technology that could revolutionize galactic travel, making the vast distances between stars manageable. But not everyone was happy with the developing friendship. Back on the Corvani capital, Supreme Commander Korthax rallied the war faction. These humans are dangerous. They pretend friendship while hiding their true strength. We should strike before they bring more ships. His words found eager ears among those who feared change, who saw any new player as a threat to the established order. On Earth, similar debates raged. Some questioned the wisdom of sharing the quantum fold technology. Others worried about becoming entangled in alien politics. But the majority celebrated. Humanity had made first contact, had proven themselves heroes by saving lives, and had potentially gained a powerful ally. The future suddenly seemed bright with possibility. Captain Rodriguez and Admiral Thyra stood together on the observation deck watching the stars. They were different species, evolved under different suns, but in that moment they understood each other. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of potential friends waiting to be discovered. The human dreadnought that had caused such panic was actually a hand extended in friendship. The Perseverance's mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. They had come seeking resources and allies. They had found something more valuable: understanding. The fear that had gripped the Corvani Empire was transforming into curiosity and respect. The humans had shown that their power came not from weapons, but from their willingness to risk everything to save others. As the two fleets separated peacefully, with promises of future meetings and formal diplomatic contact, both species had learned something important. The universe was not a battlefield where only the strong survived. It was a community where different civilizations could support each other, learn from each other, and grow together. The Empire had trembled at the arrival of a human ship, but that trembling had become the first steps of a dance that would reshape the galaxy.